Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar today. It looks like our numbers are growing. We've just started kind of having, with June being Medit App Month, and the word's been spreading, and we're getting more and more attendees each time. My name is Emily Bradley, and I work with Medit USA, well, basically Medit North America here on the education side. And with us, we have Maria Rozlikova. She's from the headquarters office in Korea. And Maria, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Thanks. So Maria's going to cover Medit Compare today. And so those of you who have joined us for the past several webinars, we've gone through the apps, Ortho Simulator, CrownFit, and Smile Design. So today is Medit Compare. And throughout the webinar series, we've been talking about some new apps that are going to be coming. We don't have a set date for those webinars yet, but it should be within several weeks, right, Maria? As soon as they're released, we'll kind of plan a webinar around those so they can start. I'll let you talk just for a second briefly about the new apps coming up.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited. I think they're gonna, the two apps that we're planning on releasing very soon, Medit Calibration Wizard, which allows our users to calibrate the scanner outside of scanner clinics, and of course Model Builder, which I'm super excited about. I think they both gonna be released in July. So yeah, hopefully we can cover them in a webinar as well and just introduce you to all of the cool functions that they have.
Perfect. Okay, we're excited. So as soon as they get released, we'll kind of be in touch with everybody who's participated on these webinars. We'll make sure you receive those registration links. And I also wanted to mention we have some lab webinars coming up very soon. Kind of towards the end of July, August, you'll see those listed on our Facebook page as well. Kind of Medit link for labs. And so we're going to kind of work on the clinic and lab side. We'll get everybody a little bit more information as we go. As always, we'll be recording this webinar, and I know I always say you're going to receive this webinar after today, but for some reason, some of you receive it, some of you do not receive it automatically. Please email me though if you don't receive the recording link. My email is emily.bradley@medit.com, and I'll just send you the link to watch. And then we'll also be getting these webinars up in other places so you can continue to watch them as well and refer to them later. As always, I wanted to mention we have chat. So if you have questions, I want you to go to your control panel on the right-hand side of your screen, click the chat button and type your questions in, and then I'll read your questions out to Maria. You know, Maria, you've been pretty thorough in the past. We haven't had a lot of questions. There's been a few every now and again that come through the following day, but I think you've done a really nice job of covering each app in detail. So we appreciate that very much.
Hopefully that helps a lot to implement all of those apps in your actual workflow. So it makes me really, really happy.
Well, great. And then I wanted to mention one more thing, and then I'm going to pass the time over to you. We do send out a survey. So your follow-up email in 24 hours will, be from, regarding the Medit Compare app. And we want to know what you want to learn more about. So I think there's a survey question in there that it just asks you what you want to learn. If it's issues with maybe signing up for an account, or if you want to learn more about Case Talk, for instance, anything at all, let us know. And we'll build a webinar around those topics that you would like to learn more about. So don't hesitate, respond to that email. Let us know what you want to know. And that being said, Maria, I'm going to turn the time over to you. I'll shut my camera off so people can focus, get out of the way here, and you can get started on the webinar. And yeah, let your questions come through. We look forward to hearing them.
Sure. So if you have been to our previous webinars, as Emily mentioned, we've covered Smile Design, which is an app that works with 2D images, and we went to Ortho Simulation, CrownFit, and also great tools that will complement your workflow in a really nice way, and they work with 3D data. And Ortho Simulation is something that you use to really impress your patient, give them a wow moment, because you can show them the actual teeth movement, how it might look like, how their smile might look like after the treatment. And CrownFit is a very specific app that basically helps you to see if your 3D printer or milling machine settings are correct, and if your crown is correct, if it fits well on the prep tooth. But when it comes to Medit Compare, I always say that the application of Medit Compare is only limited by your imagination. And I think the best way to actually go through each and every single function that Medicompare has, and also join our Facebook user group where people have these amazing cases. And when we here in R&D, we look at those cases like, wow, we never even thought you can do this with Medicompare, but it's amazing that people actually have been very, very creative. And I think maybe we'll need a separate webinar series just to explain everything that you can do in there. But today I want to focus on just basic functions, basic logic behind Medicompare. And for that, so I'm gonna talk about a real case today. So here are two models. So for example, I'm trying to buy a 3D printer. I'm looking for the best 3D printer option, and I requested samples from two pretty famous companies. And so what I want to do is I want to compare them to the actual scan data to see how accurate they are. And maybe I even want to see how they're compared to each other. So in order to do that, I'm using a Medicompare. So as usual, as all of our apps, you can get it in Medit app box, Medit app box. So it's right here, Medicompare. I have it installed, but if you don't have it already, you'll see an install button here. And then I go to my case box, and here is the case that I want to run Medicompare from. So I scanned those two models with our T-Series, and I scanned one as Maxilla, one as Mandible, so that I have them in one case. So I have everything here, and then I have the actual scan data that I sent as a sample to those 3D companies in a separate case.
So
you will
Maria,
see,
as usual, I interrupt a lot, and you know that. I'm sorry. So you have the original scan data for this file, and that file goes to either 3D printing company, so you can actually test to see the accuracy of those printed models, and then you can kind of make your decision from there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to clarify. Thanks.
Yeah. So this is what you see right now. So those are those two models scanned with our T-Series. And one really cool thing about Medicompare is that you can actually import data from any case that you have in your MeditLink account. So it doesn't have to be always in one case that you have to import and attach everything. So it's pretty cool. So I have all of my cases here. So this is the two models that I scanned with T-Series, and this is the original scan data. So I'm going to import those three data files, and here they are. So as usual, they're kind of color coded here in the tree view. So this one, the beige one, this is the original scan data, and two of them are here. Those are the 3D printed models that were scanned with T-Series. So so when it comes to comparing data or working with data, in order for you to be able to compare it, you need to align it first. And actually, when you only start working with 3D data in digital dentistry, you're not really sure what is it, what is it to align data. So basically, this is the same thing that you probably are accustomed working with when you scan maxilla mandible and then you do occlusion, and you try to align the part of the occlusion that you scanned with the maxilla and mandible that you had already scanned before. So it's just to make sure that data is in the same place. And now here in Medicompare as well, only if it's aligned with each other, you can actually compare it. So here, as usual, on the top, we see a lot of buttons. And the first one that we click on is the alignment mode. So here we're going to align our scan data, the original scan data, and we're going to put it as a reference. So this is our reference to compare. And then I'm going to start with this scan data, Maxilla 1.
So Maria, is there a limit to how many models that you could pull into that? Like, I know you want to test each one to the reference model, but how many other models could you be testing? Let's say you sent it to 7 different companies. Is there a limit there?
No, there's absolutely no limit in Medicompare, so you can import as many data files as you want.
Okay, great.
Just don't get lost.
Which one's which?
Yeah, it's a lot. And so here, usually Medicompare is really good at aligning data. And here we can see that it's kind of aligned, but kind of not. So it already gives us this feeling that maybe there's a difference between the model and the original scan data. So there are a few ways to align your data. So this one is automatic. Here we have it aligned, and then.
So how did you do that? I'm sorry. What did you click in order to do automatic alignment? Just that one there at the bottom. Okay.
Yeah, automatic alignment.
Oh.
And then there is this another great function which is called align with selected area. So basically, if we talk about tooth movement, some teeth may have moved, some teeth may not have moved. When we talk about any other case that you might work with in MediCompare, you can select only the teeth that have not moved. And this way, the program will still align.
Okay, so this is something you would do if you would know there was movement in a certain part of the mouth. You could align it based off the mouth that the teeth were not moving. Okay.
Exactly. Yes. So it's a great way to work with completely different data. So each of alignment options, like there's one manual, there's one automatic, there's this one. So depending on the case you work with, you can choose any option that you think suits this case best. So once we align data, here is our main mode when we talk about this specific case. So this is deviation display mode. So deviation is the difference between the data, and it's color coded, right? So here you can see that it's green and red and blue. So in order for you not to get lost in all of this, we have a color bar here on the left side, and basically you are able to adjust this color by yourself. So why do you do this? There is, for example, when we talk about this specific case, when we're trying to understand whether or not the 3D printed data is good enough, usually 3D printing companies say that they have this kind of accuracy or this kind of resolution, for example, 50 microns. Okay, that's good. So here they promised me 50 microns, so I set 50 here as a acceptance criteria. So everything that is acceptable will be marked in green, and everything that is not acceptable would be either in red or in blue. So
can
red
you
meaning
show us how to change that 50? Let's say, okay, you just click on that. Okay. And you can change your criteria there. So if 40 microns was your criteria, then you could change it accordingly. Okay.
Yeah. So this is going to look like with 40. And if I want to get a specific result, I just go over data with my mouse. And if I click on it, yeah, I will see that, okay, this is what it is. And if I'm not satisfied with what I see, I can just talk to my to the representative from the 3D printing company and just get into this case. Like, what is the problem? What is the issue? Maybe it's not the printer's fault per se. Maybe there's settings that need to be adjusted as well. So it's a very useful tool to make sure that everything is correct before you actually start 3D printing. Oh, so here I can just delete everything, and yeah, so if the data is shown in a bluish colors, it means that it's a little smaller basically than the original one. And if it's shown in red, it means that it's a bit bigger. And here, what we can do to actually see the difference in between data is that just as we did with CrownFit, we can create a section line. So here I create a section line which goes across the blue area a little bit, the green and the red one, and then I can go to here to measurement mode, and I can actually take a look at the difference in between data.
So you have a cross cut going right here, and you just eliminated the models.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So here I can see that, okay, this looks pretty big. This difference in between data looks pretty big. So I want to measure it by using one of those tools at the bottom. So there is this one that measures the difference by picking a point here and there. So 0.2 millimeters. Here,
wow.
0.5 millimeters. That's a lot. That's a big difference. We can go in here and see 1 millimeter, but probably in here that can be understandable as data needs to be changed a little bit when you create a model. So now I have this data and I am more aware of what I need to do. Like, should I really talk to 3D printing company, or am I satisfied with the results? So it's yeah, I think it's a really good way to start into the field of the digital dentistry. Yeah, so I have everything here now. And then I'm gonna go back to the alignment mode. And now that I figured out what's wrong, what's happening with this model, I'm gonna change, and I'm gonna work with this one now. So again, as a reference, we have the scan data, the region scan data. And now I'm gonna try to align them automatically. Well, it looks pretty good. So here again, I go on to the deviation display mode. And here I can see that, yeah, I think it looks a little bit better, but still not really good enough. I'm gonna try and change my acceptance criteria to 50 microns. Okay, I think, yeah, that does look a little better.
Seems
And
the
again, if I
better
want to see,
of
yeah,
the two, for sure.
here I have my section line. So I can go back to measurement mode and measure the distance, or I can just look at it like this with scan data, and I already can see that, okay, that looks like a lot, this difference right here. Yeah, so this is the very basic way of how you work with Metacompare. So as the title of the app suggests, you compare one set of data to another set of data, and you can work with as many data files as you want. And that's basically it from my basic introduction of the app. And let me just go through all other stages that we have here in Metacompare. So yeah, the first one was alignment mode, where we align data to actually be able to compare it together. The second one, as we just witnessed, is the deviation display mode, where we look how different the data is in terms of its accuracy, and maybe it's a bit bigger, a bit smaller. And here is what we have, roughness measurement mode. And in this case of 3D printed models, it doesn't really make much sense, but what you can use it for, and you can look at the icon here. So here's a prep tooth, and you can import the scan data of the prep tooth and see how rough it is. So if it's rough-ish, it means that probably you need to prep a little better so that the crown placement is a bit easier.
That makes sense. Maybe just knowing that it's not going to slide down or fit down easily.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And the curvature mode, it has the same purpose. So it shows you in different colors whether the curves on your prep tooth, how smooth they are. So you can see that here the top is a little reddish, so it's not really good. So you might want to also prep it a little bit better so it's a little bit smooth, and the crown sits better. And here is something, the last three modes is something that you're already familiar with. So this is the transformation mode, and last time when we did crown fit, we talked about how the Zirconia crown is a bit larger before sintering. So this is, if you have the same case that you need to compare this crown to this crown, or something like this, you can make it smaller or make it bigger so that the proportions match, so you can actually compare the data. And here the mode that we just went through, this measurement mode, and yeah, so here I have my section lines. You can work with a lot of different functions here, so you can measure the area, you can measure the distance and angles and all of that. And also I'm seeing that right now people have started to use that much more, and they come up with really amazing cases that they use these functions for. So hopefully we'll be able to share all of that soon with study cases and maybe in the Facebook group. And here also the last one is something that you're pretty familiar with. This is edit mode, where you can cut your data, edit it, and then one really cool thing is that here you can see the tree, the data tree, and when you click with your right button, you can actually export this file to MetaLink. So if you edit it in any way, if you transform it, if you change the scale, if you change what it looks like by editing it, you can always export this file as a separate file to MetaLink. So it will not override the one that you already have in your case. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And as usual, here we have all these functions that help you to locate the data inside the 3D world. So it
typically just rotates the model for you to see different life. So, this is one thing I really like about Meta is in, their software in MetaScan for clinics and in their apps, usually you have the stages listed at the top of the page. So you click on a specific stage and the tools that you need for that stage are applied at the bottom of the page. So sometimes people get a little confused when they go from stage to stage and maybe they see different tools there. It's just the tools that you need for that stage at that moment. And I think that's kind of intuitive that Meta does that and kind of stays consistent across the board. I like that.
Yeah, and the one really cool thing about MetaCompare is that when you go, for example, through Scan for Clinics, Scan for Labs, everything that you see on top is like a process that we want to guide you through. So first you scan like one jaw, second jaw occlusion. Here in MetaCompare, once you align the data, like if you need it for your work, you can just go for each mode without any specific sequence. So this is just a workflow that you made for yourself. You just use whatever you want to use. I think that's a very great thing of MetaCompare.
Yeah, it
It's
applies.
Really
you just apply the tools you need. You don't need to follow it across the board.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Well, as always, Maria, it makes a lot of sense. And what I like and I think is important is these apps can be taught in a short amount of time. They're not super complicated, and we want to keep the webinars kind of short, so that people can watch them easily. We know it's in the evening, people are getting off of work, they're going to dinner. Maria, for you, it's morning time in Korea, so we thank you for joining us. But it's nice to see that this process doesn't need to be super complicated. Just knowing what the stages are and the different tools can be and how they can be applied. And I'm kind of excited to learn more, as you said, the Facebook group, different ways they're using, the apps, and hopefully we can get some more webinars going regarding different ideas that are coming out by our end users. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, we're always we get a lot of feedback from our users, and yeah, hopefully we'll be able to work a bit more to provide a smaller solution, smaller tools that actually make a lot of sense for a lot of users, even though they don't seem like something big, or maybe that's not a separate program. But if it makes sense for a lot of users, we're very happy to work to add new functions. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. Okay, well, if there's no comments, we're going to go ahead and just wrap it up. Again, stay tuned. Just watch our Facebook page. Email me. Since you've signed up for these webinars, we'll be able to send you out more webinar links in the future. We'll just keep everybody updated when it comes to more trainings that we have going on. And we appreciate everyone for joining. And Maria, we appreciate your time. We know you're busy there in Korea, so thank you. Okay, we'll see you later, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.